Trump is again mobilizing for a fight over his predecessor's signature legislative achievement, the Affordable Care Act.
You could say he hopes the third time is the charm in the fight to repeal and replace Obamacare.
KCAL9 political reporter Dave Bryan joins us now with a look at whether the president has the votes this time. Dave?
Yeah, good question. The first two times it never even came to a vote. We'll see whether it's different now. And having lost twice already on health care bills, Mr. Trump is back for more, pushing for a quick vote on the latest proposed fix, which he argues protects patients.
Pre-existing conditions are in the bill. And I mandated, I said, it has to be.
Gearing up for round 3 in the marathon battle to repeal and replace Obamacare, President Trump told CBS Face the Nation moderator John Dickerson his new bill does not weaken medical coverage for the sick.
And one of the fixes that was discussed pre-existing was optional for the states.
Sure, in one of the fixes, and they're changing it.
Oh, okay, so it'll be permanent.
Of course.
Okay. Well, that's a development, sir.
But it's not true, according to CBS News, which reports the latest version of the health care overhaul does give states the option to let insurers charge sick people more with pre-existing conditions. That brought support from many of the most conservative Republicans who had refused to support the earlier versions, but alienated some moderate Republicans who say they'll now vote against it.
Well, it could affect people with pre-existing conditions, and that it'll make insurance probably much more expensive for them, and in some cases perhaps inaccessible.
In Congressman Dent's state, Pennsylvania, this weekend, President Trump called out some of his colleagues over the health care bill.
And I'll be so angry at Congressman Kelly and Congressman Moreno and all of our congressmen in this room if we don't get that damn thing passed quickly.
That wasn't what he said on Face the Nation Sunday.
Just relax, take it easy, take your time, get the good vote, and make it perfect.
But on the other hand, the president's chief economic advisor was turning up the heat on congressional leaders on CBS this morning.
This is going to be a great week. We're going to get health care down to the floor of the House. We're convinced we've got the votes, and we're going to keep moving on with our agenda.
But Democrats like Hancock Park Congressman Ted Lieu told CNN this ship is going down.
The reason you have so many Republican moderates saying no, they're not going to vote for this bill, is because they read it. They understand that it does not cover pre-existing conditions. And that's the difference between this version and the first version. The change now is this bill costs less because it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions, and the moderates are balking at that.
In his Face the Nation interview, the president also talked about North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un and his escalating nuclear arsenal.
People are saying, is he sane? I have no idea. I can tell you this, and a lot of people don't like when I say it, but he was a young man of 26 or 27 when he took over from his father, when his father died. And at a very young age, he was able to assume power. A lot of people, I'm sure, tried to take that power away, whether it was his uncle or anybody else. And he was able to do it. So obviously, he's a pretty smart cookie.
Kim has also been accused of ordering that his enemies be murdered, including members of his own family, and of massive human rights violations. Nonetheless, President Trump told Bloomberg News he'd be honored to meet the North Korean president. Later, White House officials clarified that such a meeting could only take place after North Korea abandons its nuclear weapons, which likely means it would never happen. Mr. Trump has focused much of his attention on dictators and authoritarian leaders like Russia's Vladimir Putin and the president of Egypt. And now the president has invited Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte to visit the White House. He has led a bloody massacre of thousands of Filipinos whom he charged were involved in the drug trade but were never convicted or tried on criminal charges.
Mr. Obama, you can go to...
And in an interview with Sirius XM Radio, President Trump reached back to the 19th century to praise pre-Civil War president and slave owner Andrew Jackson.
He was a very tough person, but he had a big heart, and he was really angry that he saw what was happening with regard to the Civil War. He said there's no reason for this. People don't ask that question, but why was there the Civil War? Why could that one not have been worked out?
Now, the president said if Andrew Jackson had been a little later, there wouldn't have been a civil war. He died 16 years before the war began. In 1835, 10 years before his death, President Jackson gave Southern postmasters the power to seize anti-slavery writings which were being sent by Northern abolitionists and not deliver them. So, interesting background, right? You know.
Dave, let's go back to the health care bill. Is there any reason to believe that this time around would be better off as far as votes go for them?
Right
Could they pass
now,
it?
yeah, right now it doesn't look like it's going to be any different. CNN is reporting 21 Republican Congress members have already decided to vote no on the bill, in most cases because of the pre-existing conditions controversy. If all Democrats vote no, which is expected, the Republicans can only afford to lose 22 votes. And the CNN report indicates nearly 20 other GOP Congress members are still undecided on the bill. When Vice President Pence was leaving the Capitol today, this evening actually, after he was talking with some of the representatives, he was asked by if the administration has the votes to pass the bill, and he simply said, stay tuned. Not exactly a vote of confidence, Lena.
All right.